Hi guys, my name is Randy Wayne White, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about myself and about my new novel, FINS. FINS is about three kids, probably about your age, who learn how to tag sharks. They get into a lot of trouble, and then they learn how to work their way out of it. They're smart, probably kind of like you. I know a little bit about tagging sharks because for many years I was a full-time fishing guide on the west coast of Florida, Sanibel Island, Florida. And we tag sharks for the National Marine Fisheries Service. You'll learn all about that in my new book. That's me too, back when I used to actually have some hair. That fish is a tarpon. It's a great game fish. While fishing for tarpon, we also caught a lot of sharks. And that's me back when I didn't have hair, and I still don't. But I still love studying sharks. I still get out on my boat a lot, or my paddleboard, and I still do research regarding sharks. Like you, maybe, I grew up in rural areas on small farms in North Carolina and Ohio, and wait a minute, this is the wrong picture. I'll get back to this story later. Writing books is a lot of work, but the great thing is I meet so many interesting people, particularly related to my interest in sharks, like this guy, Captain Andre Hartman. He's a very famous person because he was the first person to ever go down in a cage with a great white shark. And guess what? I was one of the first people to ever go down in the cage with Andre Hartman. This was in South Africa. Was I scared? Ha! You doggone right I was scared. This is a photo of Andre stopping a great white shark just as it came up to the boat. Here's Captain Andre again. Look at the size of that thing. I was hiding down under the water in a cage. Who wouldn't be scared? Look at the size of those teeth. But no matter where you're from, whether it's Rockingham, North Carolina, or Pioneer, Ohio, or Sanibel Island, Florida, doing adventurous things is part of the job of being a writer. I've made a lot of friends through my interest in fishing and sharks, like the crazy guy on the left who's not wearing a face mask. I'm not going to say his name because he's a very famous environmentalist and ecologist. For now, let's just call him Bobby. Bobby and I have had a lot of adventures together. Here he is again, and he's still not wearing a face mask. Bobby really liked my novel Fins because he loves sharks, and he loves reading, and he loves ecology. At the beginning of Fins, you'll read a very nice quote from Bobby. He really liked the book. You don't have to be a scientist to study things that you find interesting. Sharks, in my case. Here I am on my paddleboard. I'm experimenting with a magnetic ankle device that's supposed to repel sharks. This is a bull shark, probably 4 or 5 feet long, maybe 100 pounds. Sharks don't intentionally bite people, very rarely. It is almost always an accident, but when it is accidental, it can be serious. You need to show sharks a lot of respect. Here's an example. My sons are also interested in sharks. They always have been. They love fishing, they love boating. My oldest son, Lee Wayne White, helped rescue one of his best friends who was attacked by a bull shark while they were snorkel diving. Here's a picture of the scar on my son's friend's leg. I have a lot of respect for sharks. You have to. But that doesn't mean I'm afraid to swim in the ocean. I do a lot of open water swimming. For instance, I'm a plank member of the Tampa Bay Frogman Swim. That's me on the far left in the light blue sweatshirt. It was really cold that day. Tampa Bay is about 4 miles wide. It was a long swim. I was so cold I didn't worry about sharks. In Fins, 3 kids your age start a shark tagging team. They call it Sharks Incorporated. I think of these 2 young ladies as very similar to 2 girls you'll meet in my novel Fins, Maribel and Sabina. That's me smiling in the car. I was in Cuba. I've spent a lot of time in Cuba. In fact, in 1980, long before you were born, I helped bring back 147 refugees from Mariel Harbor, Cuba. On the boat, I noticed a pair of sisters. They were so brave and so devoted to one another. Later, in my book Fins, I got to reinvent those sisters in the form of Maribel in Savina. During that time period, and in later years, a lot of Cubans built their own boats just in the hope of getting to the United States. I so admire those people. And 2 of the 12 gentlemen who built that boat are still friends of mine. Like I said, it doesn't matter where you're from. North Carolina or Ohio or Iowa or New York or Cuba. If there's something you want to do, if there's something you want to study and or write about, you can do it. In FINS, you'll also meet another young shark tagger by the name of Luke O. Jones. Luke is from a little town called Pioneer, Ohio. Luke doesn't think he's very smart, but he's pretty good at playing baseball. In school, I didn't think I was very smart, but I loved baseball. That's why whenever I go back to Cuba, I take baseball gear and give it to kids. You can tell my friends and I enjoy taking baseball gear to kids in Cuba, and the kids love it too. Coming up next, I think, is a pretty funny clip of my buddies and me playing baseball in Cuba. I'm the guy in the blue tank top and the orange cap. I'm the catcher. You're going to see a couple of pigs, too.
So we were right at home in the farm country of western Cuba. And when we saw some folks playing ball, we didn't hesitate to stop and join them. It wasn't planned, it's just the sort of thing that country people do. And the villagers turned out to watch, drawn by the game's charm or maybe the prospect of gringos dying of heart attacks. Who knows?
In order to play this game well, you have to be in top physical condition. Kind of like us.
Play along. Bill's one of the most generous men I know. He's so generous that this former major league great allowed these gentle farm folk to beat him like a cheap conga drum.
They're just laughing and cheering, and if they scored a run on us, that was just a big deal. I mean, they were loving it.
Okay, Bill, no more screwing around, no more nice guy.
By the crowd's reaction, by their antics as much as the players, we discovered something here. An American irony. The game that we loved as children still exists. Like streets filled with 57 Chevys, our game was still alive and vital in Cuba.
We're talking dinner here.
All our lives, we'd been told these people are our enemies. And they'd been told the same about us, especially men of our generation. It's maddening to know that our children, our grandchildren, and theirs are still being told the same sad lie. But not after this day, no longer. Not in this village, anyway.
Okay, finally I can tell you about that giant snake you saw earlier. It's a Burmese python. This is my youngest son, Rogan White. The Burmese pythons are not native to Florida, and they're destroying the wildlife here. They need to be eliminated. Up next is a clip about Rogan and another python he shot. Well, he's been shot, stabbed, and still... See the beautiful, beautiful horse conch.
Can you believe this shit? I can't believe it. Honestly. Let's see if I can. They're out of here. Jesus.
Tell you what, that thing weighs, well, he's over 10 feet long. We measured him. I'm going to guess 85 pounds at least. Don't you think, Mark?
Yeah. He's probably 80 or 100 pounds, huh, Roger? 80 pounds?
Got some weight. It's too heavy for me to carry, I'll tell you that. That's why it pays to have sons. I grew up in rural areas on a farm. and I no longer hunt, but the Burmese pythons are destroying the Everglades. I hope you enjoy FINS, and I think you might enjoy seeing where I wrote the book. This is the house where I live. It's on the bay on the west coast of Florida. It's a quiet, private place. This is my office. Not very fancy, is it? Well, it doesn't have to be. When I was your age, I always wanted to be a writer, but I never thought I was smart enough, certainly not well educated enough, to actually write a book. But you know what? What I learned is, if I would go into a room alone and close the door and write every day, anything is possible. In FINS, you're also going to meet a marine biologist by the name of Marion Doc Ford, one of my favorite characters. I've written a lot of books about Doc Ford, and this is the house where the great biologist Doc Ford lives. I'm already working on the second book in the series, Sharks Incorporated, about the same 3 young shark tagging characters. And please keep in mind, it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter who you are. If you want adventure, if you love the ocean, if you love ecology, you can study, you can accomplish anything you choose to do. Good luck. I'm Randy Wayne White, and I hope we one day meet.